Hey YouTube, welcome to the Sicilian Prince's video on the winemaking equipment you will need to start making wine from kits. In this video we'll be discussing the equipment that you will need to start making wine from kits. In my last video on winemaking we discussed the Vino Italiano kits that are available from Amazon.com. While these kits include the ingredients that you need, they do not include the equipment that you need. Much like when you buy a cake mix, it doesn't include bowls, spoons, and pans, or an oven. The equipment that you would need to get is a one-time purchase that you can use over and over again. So let's look now at what you will need to get started. At a minimum, you will need a plastic bucket, which we would call a primary fermenter. This would be a food-grade plastic bucket where your fermentation process will start. Next, we'll need a carboy or secondary fermenter, which is a large jug to store your wine as it's completing its fermentation. We need a hydrometer, an airlock and bung, a spoon with a very long handle, some siphoning supplies such as tubing, a racking cane, and other things which we'll discuss, and some cleaning supplies, things like sanitizers, cleansers, brushes, and other things. At the end of this video we'll also be going over some things that are not absolutely essential but are very, very nice to have in your winemaking. So let's look at each of these things in detail. First, we have a primary fermenter, which is a food-grade plastic bucket with a sealable lid. This is where our fermentation process will begin in this bucket. It must hold probably about 7 gallons. Next, we have our secondary fermenter, which is a jug that is going to be a 6-gallon jug that's going to store our wine as it's completing its fermentation. Pictured here, you will also see a bung and airlock, which goes on top of the jug to keep it basically airtight, where gases can escape but no oxygen could get in to the jug while it's fermenting. The next piece of equipment we have is a hydrometer or triple scale hydrometer, which is a device that we'll be using to determine the alcohol level in our wine and to monitor the process of fermentation. During fermentation, the sugar in the grape juice will be converted to alcohol by the yeast. This device is placed in the wine or grape juice and will measure the density of the wine or grape juice. What it measures is something called the specific gravity of the liquid. Sugary liquids are denser than water or alcoholic liquids, and so the hydrometer will float higher in the sugary liquids, and as the sugar is converted to alcohol, it will sink lower. On the side of the hydrometer is a scale where you can take a reading of the specific gravity or density of the liquid that we're measuring. This is important to measure our alcohol content in our wine, and also so that we can monitor the process to make sure that things are going as planned. The way you measure the total alcohol in your wine is you would take a measurement at the beginning of the winemaking process on just the grape juice, and then you would take another measurement at the end of the process. And what you would do then is look at subtracting one value from another to get the total alcohol. To make things a little bit easier, many hydrometers have a potential alcohol scale on the side, which will show you that this is the potential of your grape juice to turn into alcohol based on how much sugar is in it. You could also look up on charts like the one pictured here to see how much potential alcohol your grape juice will have. You will also need siphoning equipment, things such as racking canes or auto siphons, and tubing, which we have pictured here. Now, the term racking is used when we're transferring wine from one vessel to another. So when we're transferring wine from our primary fermenter to secondary fermenter, that process is called racking. And when we do that each time, sediment is left over at the bottom. So the racking cane or auto siphon has a tip on the bottom, which you see here pictured in red, so that you do not siphon away all of the sediment that's at the bottom of the container, the fermenter that you're transferring from. You will rack a number of times during the winemaking process. Now, in order to assist in cleaning and stirring, mixing, we have a long-handled spoon, and it needs to have a long handle to get into that carboy. And we also have a curved brush that we use for cleaning out the carboy, and we have a bottled brush, which is a straight brush for cleaning out the bottles that we will be later bottling the wine in. We will also need equipment for filling our bottles after the wine is made and corking our bottles. Here you see a floor corker, a handheld corker, and a wand that is used for filling. It has a spring-loaded tip and allows you to control the wine as it's going into the bottles when you're filling it. Cleansing and sanitizing is one of the most important aspects of making wine. It's very important to keep your equipment as clean as possible. These are the things that I use personally and highly recommend. Be Bright Cleanser and potassium metabisulfate. I use these things to clean everything that comes in contact with the wine. Now, some folks are concerned about sulfites in wine. I do need to tell you that when you make homemade wine, the sulfites that are in the homemade wine are actually about a quarter or less that available in commercial wines. So you're making wine with much, much less sulfites in them. Now, fortunately, most of these things are available in kits that have bundled equipment called equipment kits. I would recommend looking at equipment kits to get started, since it comes with a lot of the things that you will need, and look at what the kit actually includes. Specific kits from different manufacturers include different things, and you want to be aware of what you're getting included with a kit and what extra you might want to consider buying. Things like the auto siphon can be very, very handy. A lot of times the kits come with racking canes instead of auto siphons, so you might want to look at that. In addition, you might want to also look at picking up an extra hydrometer or two. Since they are made out of glass and they're very, very fragile, you might want to have an extra one on hand in case your hydrometer breaks. Some other non-essential things that might be great to get, which I kind of believe are actually essential, is things like this orange Carboy handle, which attaches to the carboy and makes it much easier to carry the carboy. Now imagine this glass jug being filled with 5 to 6 gallons of wine. It could be very, very heavy. That will make it much easier on your back, and the probability of dropping your full of wine glass jug on the floor a lot less. So I would highly recommend getting that orange handle called a Carboy handle. In addition, the stirrer here, which mounts to a drill, and you can use this to stir the CO2 gas out of the wine during part of the winemaking process. Wine is flat. It does not have bubbles in it like soda. So how do you get the bubbles out? You need to stir like crazy. While you don't need to have this, you can stir with the spoon and get all the bubbles out. Your arm will basically fall off with all that stirring that you need to do. It's much easier to mount a device like this to a drill and use the drill to do the muscle work on stirring out the bubbles from your wine. Now, one of the things that I have done is I've created an Amazon store from my website, www.cooking-italian-recipes.com. And in this Amazon store, I've hand-selected some winemaking equipment to make it easy for you to find the winemaking equipment from my website that I recommend. Now, the stuff that you buy from my website will come to you from Amazon. You're buying it from Amazon.com. It's going to cost you the same buying it through my website as buying it from Amazon. So I would, recommend coming to my website and looking for the things that I am selecting here to make it easy for you to find things that I believe to be a great value. So in a nutshell, that's what you need to get started. Thanks for watching. Please look at my website, www.cookingitalianrecipes.com, to get more information on home winemaking and some great Italian recipes. Please subscribe to my channel so that you won't miss any of these episodes.